Hello and welcome. My name is Dehalov, and today I will be telling you about some go-to Ogdoadic combos that I refer to as the Nauya combo, the Nunu combo, and interactions concerning Aaron and Amnesia, just for you to have in your back pocket ready to go during play, because these cards, they say a lot of words, but they don't necessarily do a lot of complex things. So the first combo is going to be the Nauya combo. What you need for this is one Nauya and any monster you contribute, usually a normal summon level 4, usually probably a good one, like our Oviraptor or Alistair, but it can be any monster. What you do is, you put that monster on the field, you will then send Nauya from your hand to the graveyard, to send Curse from your deck to the graveyard, you will tribute the monster on your field with Curse, targeting Nauya, special summoning Nauya, to then search an Ogdoadic back row. In this case, that will be our one copy of Ogdoadic Water Lily. We will then use our Water Lily to send from our deck to the graveyard our Alert, the Ogdoadic Dark. We will then tribute our Nauya to summon Alert the Ogdoadic Dark. Then we will overlay our Curse and our Alert into any rank 8. My go-to is a defense position Draglubion into, with Draglubion's effect, a number 38 Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy if going first, or if going second, I like to go for lethal with that number 100 Numeron Dragon. Some other good targets to note are Divine Dragon Knight of Felgran for really cool monster negation and also protection because he makes whatever he targets unaffected by the card effects. Teardrop Larica Queen to just clear over your opponent's monsters during your turn. No, it won't have the quick effect because it doesn't have any plants, but it'll help clear. Or number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, who I'm too poor to own but would love to run. For the Nunu combo, all you need is Nunu, the Ogdoadic Remnant, and a card in your hand. You could do this with Nunu plus a normal summonable level 4, but for this example, we're going to assume you have a card you cannot use, so you have just a card. What you do is, you send Nunu from your hand to the graveyard, to then send Zoha, the Ogdoadic Boundless, from our deck to our graveyard. We will send the other card from our hand to the grave to add Zoha back to our hand. We will, with Nunu's effect, special summon it from the graveyard since we control no monsters. We will normal summon Zoha, the Ogdoadic Boundless, and we will overlay the two into King of the Feral Imps. King of the Feral Imps will allow us to search Nauya, the Ogdoadic Remnant, who will then allow us to send Nauya for Curse and go into a very similar combo that we were talking about before. It's just cool to me that you can get to a rank 8 from either Nunu or Nauya on their own. So those are our first two combos. Now I want to talk about some Ogdoadic interactions. The first being those the rest of the deck have with the Royals, Aaron and Amnesia. One of the most frustrating parts about this deck is how Alert and Curse insist on giving the opponent free resources. This is meant to make up for the fact that they are level 8s that can hit the field pretty easily, but it just is super overtuned. They give back much more than I would like, and it really hurts the deck a lot. The Royals are really interesting because they undo the negatives of Alert and Curse while giving us some player agency back, which you'll see in a sec. They also synergize with the positive effects of Zoha and Flogos. Lastly, Aaron and Amnesia synergize with one another. If you have both, they essentially pop one another off. Amnesia getting a trigger will mean Aaron gets his other effect, and vice versa. So what does Aaron do? He can be special summoned from the graveyard by tributing 2 monsters, and if a card is added to our opponent's hand outside their draw phase, we can rip one at random. What this does is, with Alert, if they add a card with Alert's effect back to their hand, Aaron will punish them by ripping a random card from their hand, and this is on our turn and theirs, so we have a potential of ripping one with Alert, and then one from a search on their turn. He also synergizes with Zoha, who, if sent from the field to the graveyard, or special summoned from the graveyard, allows us to search an Ogdoadic, and our opponent to draw a card, and then we both choose a card to discard. What this does is, it would normally be an even 0 for both of us, add, discard, draw, discard, but with Aaron, because they added, we actually get to rip another card. And his last effect is, if a monster your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard, you can add a light or a dark reptile from your deck or graveyard to your hand. This will work with Amnesia, as you will see in a sec, so let's go over her. Just like Aaron, she can be summoned from the graveyard by tributing 2 monsters, and if a monster is special summoned from your opponent's graveyard to their field, you can choose a monster on their field and send it to the graveyard. This is really great because Curse, as we know, gives our opponent a monster when summoned from the graveyard, and synergizes with Flogos, Ogdoadic Boundless, who, when sent from the field to the graveyard or special summoned from the graveyard, allows us to remove an opponent's monster by summoning one from their graveyard with more attack points. What will happen with this is we remove a monster with Flogos, and then Amnesia will allow us to remove the monster Flogos just brought out or any other. It doesn't have to be the monster that came from the graveyard, just a monster on their field. And lastly, if a monster is sent from our opponent's hand or deck to the graveyard, we can special summon one light or dark reptile from our graveyard. This synergizes with Aaron's ability to send potentially monsters from the opponent's hand to the graveyard and fulfills that circular loop. What I really like about Aaron and Amnesia is their total ability to synergize with the rest of the archetype. They synergize with each other, meaning you don't have to pick just one necessarily. You could have a build that wants to have both of these. They synergize with the best cards in the deck, Curse and Alert, by undoing their downsides, because their upsides are really good. Curse getting us that level 4 Ogdoadic, and Alert getting us those banished monsters back to our graveyard for future use. And they give our hand fixing options, because that's why you usually run Zoha, a hand fixing option. They give them more value to do more to our opponent. Zoha becomes a hand wrap option, and Flogos becomes a really powerful monster removal engine. And that will be the end of this video. I hope this cleared some things up. I hope that Ogdoadic seems like a little more of an approachable archetype, and that you will now feel excited to start building with it, start brewing with it, and putting it together with other really weird things, because that's what this deck is great for, being a really slim engine that can fit into a lot of different things. I tried to keep my opinions on how many of each to play to myself, except for my one Dig It Water Lily, because there is a lot of personalization, and that's a topic for another video. But I wanted to make this to make these cards make sense and to explain how they work with one another. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.